last Christmas, I was in the darkest place I could possibly have been. This time last year, I didn't like what I saw. And that's what brings me to talking about surviving Christmas. The best tip that the family understand me now. They understand that this is me, and it isn't because I'm weird. It's not because I'm mentally ill. It's because these are all triggers of ADHD thinking. And so I never, ever, ever want to give that up again, because it's taken me 44 years to get to this point where I feel happy at Christmas.
And do you like what you see in front of you?
I've got a really noisy brain. And if you ask me what the noises are or whether they're voices, there is internal chatter constantly. There is constant conversation of self-doubt. There's constant conversation of issues and conversations that are ping-ponging around my head, or there is just noise through. And I was just given the most ludicrous news that I had a cancer that affects 1 in 50,000. It's called a choriocarcinoma. It affects about 15, 20 women a year. And what makes it really rare is that normally you don't have a live pregnancy with it. Your body will normally terminate. So the fact that I'd gone through all of that, given birth, and Isaac was perfectly healthy. I obviously wasn't perfectly healthy at that point. Anyway, that's a different story. But so I got to the hospital and they said, you've got something called gestational trophoblastic disease. It's a rare cancer, but it can be treated with injections. But you've got to get up to Charing Cross, and you've got to get up there now. Can't take your son with you. So I was just like, what do I do with all of this? And the one person that I had with me who was only available to take me to the hospital that day was Isaac's biological dad. So
Hi Rhea, thank you for joining me today. Let's get some context. Where does your story start? What do I need to know?
When you ask about my story, where do you want me to start?
Wherever you want.
Okay.
Tell me a bit about you, or what other people should know about you, and how that's led you to the life you've got now, and what we're going to talk about.
Okay, so I've had quite a chaotic upbringing. Wonderful but chaotic. I'm from Whitstable. Some people say that's a blessing or a curse. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was born in Whitstable, got a younger brother. There's been a lot. There's been a lot in my life. I've had cancer when I was 25. When my little boy was 5 weeks old, I was diagnosed with cancer. I've had health issues. I've had all sorts of issues and problems. And I'm here. I'm here and I'm smiling and loving life now. So there's a bit of a journey in between all of that. So we can pick through any of those parts.
Yeah. So when you say a sort of chaotic upbringing, what did that look like?
I had my parents, they were quite alternative. They were very much into the dance scene when I was quite young. So I was dragged, I think at the time I really enjoyed it, going to outdoor raves. My mum used to print flyers for lots of the underground rave scene. So you can imagine what kind of life that was. So my brother and I, right from a young age, we saw a lot. We partied a lot. I went out, started clubbing, the club scene when I was about 13. So in my sort of teenage years, it was quite bonkers.
So you were exposed to quite a lot of sort of adult life and maybe alternative, and that scene of music. Yeah. I guess drink and drugs, and that was suddenly around as well because of that scene.
Yeah, very much so. But it was interspersed with normality, and it was interspersed with. So it's really weird. It's two sides of a coin that you could see. You'd see I grew up vegetarian, and my parents were very much into natural remedies and looking after yourself in that way. But then alternatively, it would be very different at the weekends, and they would be off doing I'm really sorry, Mum, I'm divulging all the secrets. I mean, we used to have some wonderful times going into the woods when we were kids and with my parents, but I didn't know what they were going foraging for. But as far as I was concerned, we was going off having a family walk, and they were taking stuff home to try. Maybe edit that.
Yeah. But I mean, and all that led up to then obviously you had your own health scare. You just mentioned that 25, which is young.
Yeah. So I ended up being a single parent. The guy that I was seeing didn't, when I fell pregnant with my son, with my eldest, he didn't want to be around. He wasn't interested. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do this. So I'm going to have my son. I'm ready. I'm 25. I can do this. Went through my pregnancy, really no problems. I gave birth to Isaac, long labour. I always say that giving birth to him was like giving birth to Megamind. That head didn't want to come out. And it was a long labour, but I had my cousin, I had my friend there as my birthing partner, and that was fine. And then a few weeks later, I ended up being blue lighted to hospital, and I kept on hemorrhaging, and I didn't stop hemorrhaging. And I was fobbed off by the GP, and I was fobbed off by the hospital. They were just like, it's just one of those things post-pregnancy. And lots of my friends, like, it's not one of those things. They performed a D&C on me, and as far as I was concerned, that was it. That was the end of the bleeding. That was the end of me hemorrhaging. Unbeknown to me that they'd sent everything off to histology, and about a week or two later I got a phone call from the hospital, and they said, you need to come into hospital, you need to come in now, and you need to be with someone. And you know what that conversation is. So completely unaware. I've got this 5-week-old baby. I'm just trying to get on with my life as a single parent. I'm living with my dad at that point. My parents had split up, so it was just me and my dad and I had never had the best relationship, but this situation actually strengthened us. And I always say now that me having cancer was probably one of the best things that happened for my father and I. Anyway, that's a different story, but so I got to the hospital and they said, you've got something called gestational trophoblastic disease. It's a rare cancer, but it can be treated with injections, but you've got to get up to Charing Cross, and you've got to get up there now. Can't take your son with you. So I was just like, what do I do with all of this? And the one person that I had with me who was only available to take me to the hospital that day was Isaac's biological dad. So I've got him, who doesn't want to be a parent. He's sitting in the room next to me. We always had an amicable relationship. It wasn't, I was just like, this is what I'm doing. You're in, you're out. And he was just like, okay, I don't want to see anything bad happen to you. Obviously, he was seeing that right in that very moment. So it was utter shit. And so when I did make it up to London, I just remember sitting in stunned silence in Charing Cross Hospital, in the A&E department, waiting for the oncologist to come through. And I was just given the most ludicrous news that I had a cancer that affects 1 in 50,000. It's called a choriocarcinoma. It affects about 15, 20 women a year. And what makes it really rare is that normally you don't have a live pregnancy with it. Your body will normally terminate. So the fact that I'd gone through all of that, given birth, and Isaac was perfectly healthy. I obviously wasn't perfectly healthy at that point, but it turned out that the cancer had spread from my womb to my lungs and into my brain. So I had 7 months of very intensive chemotherapy.
Wow. While juggling, having at that point 5 months, but up to, just over a year then.
Yeah.
So, and that was quite a traumatic period for you as well.
Massively. So it was sort of juggling that. My parents put their animosity towards each other on hold, and they supported me alongside a lot of amazing friends. I was really, really fortunate.
And you got the all clear?
I got so I was given the all clear on St Patrick's Day.
Okay.
So 2007, I was given the all clear. And then I was told that I couldn't have any pregnancies for a couple of years after that, and that I would need to be carefully monitored for the rest of my life, which then they've now reduced it because of all the clinical studies. They can see that there is very, very small reoccurrence of the disease. If I have any more children, then I have to be monitored for a year because it's basically cancer of the placenta. That's what it is. This is what makes it really odd. And it contains 2 DNAs. So when the cancer grows, it contains the father's DNA and the mother's DNA. So it will grow really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. And then you have gone on and had other children. And your health has been okay throughout that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, if you're going to have cancer, then I suppose have that one, because it's really rare, really aggressive, but really, really hates chemotherapy and it dies instantly. So I just had to have a really intensive regime of chemo. So it's like 14 hours a week. Lost all my hair, lost all my baby weight, which was a bonus. Best postpartum diet. I don't actually advocate for having cancer post.
No, it's probably not.
I did lose 3 stone and I didn't have to shave my legs for over 7 months, so I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at the positives, haven't you? Every cloud and
I've got really curly hair now. I've straightened it, but I've got really curly hair since chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't before?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Cool. So, I mean, that's a lot going on in your 20s. Mm-hmm. But if we fast forward a little bit, because, we're going to be talking about that sort of surviving Christmas. We're sat here beginning of December.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of bits, I suppose, in your story that we haven't mentioned. And the first one being that you gave up alcohol. And I think, is that how many years ago now?
So I gave up alcohol, it was nearly 3 years ago. So 2023. Yeah. So I'm coming up to my 3-year anniversary on the 1st of January.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people in January, especially if you wake up with that hangover from New Year's Eve, and we've all said it in our life, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
But yet, we do.
Yeah.
But you've then kept that off. So, I mean, talk to me about leading up to the period. What were your drinking habits like?
I think at best I was only drinking at the weekend. At worst I was drinking probably every single day. I hate admitting that because actually it makes it sound horrendous. It is horrendous. It was, if things were particularly tough, if I was really struggling mentally, then I would probably drink 6 days a week. Maybe 7. But the problem for me is that I don't have an off switch. So I can't have a glass of wine. I have all the wine. I'm committed to that bottle. And so I would be lying to myself, and time again, I would lie to myself that I was only going to have a glass of wine. But then that would only, the sort of drinking throughout the whole of the week, that would only be for a couple of weeks if things were particularly tough, if I was really struggling, because I would pull myself out of it and be like, right, you cannot drink until Friday. But then what I possibly would have drunk throughout the week, I make up for at the weekend.
Yeah.
I can remember when I first went sober, people didn't believe me. And I used Dry January as a springboard. That was a perfect time for me because so many other people were around doing it.
Yeah.
And I thought, let's see if I can do a week. Let's see if I can do 2. Let's get to the end of January. And I can remember going out with someone I think we went out for a pub lunch. And I told someone that I wasn't drinking, and they were disgusted with me. They went, "Who is my drinking partner now?" And because I could sit there and I could match the guys with drinking bottles of wine. I mean, there's a few people from Bonfire that we've had sit around our dinner table, and we would sit there and just drink and drink and drink, and it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was always quite proud of that. I was like, oh, I've got a really good tolerance. Now I'm actually really disappointed with myself that I had such a big tolerance. But it would manifest into self-loathing. It would manifest into self-esteem issues, confidence issues. I was constantly running on half a battery. I wasn't the best parent. I wasn't the best version of myself. And going back to the cancer thing, the fear, my cancer of the reoccurrence or of a different cancer after I'd been so fortunate in beating it the first time round, started playing havoc with my brain.
Yeah.
And I started to think, do you know what? I've been really fortunate. I'm really lucky to have these 3 beautiful children. Why am I doing this? Why am I drinking the way that I am? And I can remember when I decided to give up drinking, the bonfire season beforehand, I'd pretty much done most of it sober because I'd already started in my head detaching myself from alcohol. Yeah. I'd already recognised about a year beforehand that I had a really poor, toxic relationship with alcohol. I'd had a bit of a boozy summer and I thought, right, do you know what? If I can get through bonfire season, pretty much not drinking, I can get through anything not drinking.
Yeah.
And so I started being designated driver. And I didn't want to risk it by having a drink whilst out at bonfire. So I didn't have a drink. But I would be at bonfire until 11 o'clock and then be quite happy going home the following day, getting up home the following day. No, not at all. Waking up the following day, thinking, I haven't got a hangover. This feels great. And I got all the way through bonfire season and I survived. I did it. I think I had 2 drinks at Rye. I pushed my friend round in a wheelchair because she'd hurt her ankle at another bonfire in a pothole. And it was a really, really good bonfire season. I was like, I feel brilliant. And then December hit, Christmas hit, and that was it. And everything that I hadn't drunk over bonfire season, I drank it because it was December, because it was Christmas. And it's that mantra, isn't it, that sod it, it's December.
Yeah.
Sod it, I'm going to have a drink because it's Christmas. It's a Christmas party. I've had a tough day. I've had a good day. It's Christmas capers. It's we've made it to the end of term. And whatever reason, I've got to go and wrap the presents, drink a bottle of Baileys. Well, no, I didn't actually drink a bottle of Baileys. I don't think anyone can. That's disgusting.
No, yeah. But it is that, we find excuses as to, we'll have a drink because. Yeah. And actually, I've often said, certainly our drinking culture is, things are bad, you have a drink. Things are good, you have a drink. Yeah. And if it's in the middle, you just find an excuse. And that's what you were doing in December.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just drank all the way through. And then Christmas Day hit and you start drinking that's your excuse to drink with breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I drank through cooking dinner. And then I don't remember Christmas dinner. I remember waking up a couple of hours after Christmas dinner. We'd all eaten. We sat on the sofa and I just fell asleep, resting on Leon. And apparently I'd been snoring. Hey, it was Christmas and who cares? And that I just felt really disappointed because I'd put all this effort into Christmas and I'd just wasted it. I didn't stop that day, but I was going up to London and I lied when I said it was the 1st of January. It was the 2nd of January because we went up to watch Bob Marley.
Okay.
So we went and saw the Bob Marley show at the theatre and I just thought I'd forced a pint in me. And I was like, I literally can't do this. It's like the Vicar of Dibley with a Brussels sprout. I was like, I can't physically get any more booze in me. I need to stop this. And I'd been listening to lots of podcasts about sobriety. I'd been listening about the effects of hormones and alcohol. But one of the other things that was starting to sort of really resonate with me, and I'd started looking at this previously, is ADHD and the way that my brain is. So
yeah, because I mean, you'd mentioned sort of mental health, and obviously you've then just mentioned ADHD with your brain, and alcohol obviously plays with your brain. And sometimes you think, I'll have a drink, I'll feel better, and it can have a short-term fix. But the following day, actually, if your mental health's a bit unstable at that point, it can actually make it worse the following day. And was that your experience?
Well, one of the reasons why I would drink so much is because to quiet my brain, because I've got a really noisy brain. And if you ask me what the noises are or whether they're voices, there is internal chatter constantly. There is constant conversation of self-doubt. There's constant conversation of issues and conversations that are ping-ponging around my head, or there is just noise, and I become really dysregulated. I feel funny in my body. I feel funny with the clothes that I'm wearing. I feel funny with sounds that are around me. I mean, you can ask my husband. He knows when he's getting on my nerves because his breathing near me makes me want to plot his death. He's got a loud chew as well, and oh my God, I go and sit upstairs because I just can't do it. But the family understand me now. They understand that this is me, and it isn't because I'm weird. It's not because I'm mentally ill. It's because these are all triggers of ADHD.
Yeah.
But at the time, 4 years ago, I was heavily self-medicating, and I didn't start drinking until I was in my 20s. So, which is quite interesting, because if you look at ADHD and how it manifests, especially in teenagers and teenage girls, and how much they mask, I masked a lot when I was a teenager. But then I had a very busy, chaotic life that I could mask in amongst all of that. I could hide behind the clutter of my life.
Yeah.
And then things kind of settled a little bit. I had quite a interesting relationship on off for about 7 years with someone. There was lots of chaos, but I wasn't introduced to drinking really. Or I didn't introduce it because I didn't like it. I didn't like the taste of it. I thought it was actually quite revolting. So then fast forward to recognising that ADHD has always been there, and how it's manifested through these sections of my life, these chapters of my life. It's all sort of come out in a torrent in my 40s, because you look at the perimenopause part of life, you look at removing alcohol and all of a sudden being really exposed. Basically, the mask has come off and it's now looking at me in raw form. And it's like, right, I've got to start liking what I see in front of me. And it's addressing all of that.
And do you like what you see in front of you?
I do now.
You do now?
I didn't.
No.
And it's taken a long time to get to that point. This time last year, I didn't like what I saw. And that's what brings me to talking about surviving Christmas.
Yeah, because, I often joke, people call me the Grinch, or I don't like Christmas. And I sort of think, do I not like Christmas, or do I just not like some of the lack of routine, the chaos, the sensory overload of whether that's in busy shops or just with everything going on, and you're getting together with loads of people, and it just all becomes a bit much. Yeah. So I don't think it's specifically Christmas I don't like. It's just that period of time is just challenging. And I probably then become grumpy about it, but and do sound like the Grinch. But it is that thing of there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you spoke about ADHD and understand, and a busy brain. And I think that's what a lot of people with ADHD sort of often explain it to other people, of imagining never being able to switch off, and there's always something going on, and then you've got all this other stuff going on, and Christmas is all about, you coming out for these drinks, are you meeting here, are you coming to this, are you doing that? And it just builds up.
It does. There's a lot of lights are a big thing. I don't know if you're like this, but I can't cope with having lots of bright lights around me. I really, really struggle with that. It's that whole Peter Kay thing, putting a big light on. I can't stand having the big light on. It's horrible. So when you go out to the busy shops, at Christmas time, and you've got all the bright lights, and it's just like sensory overload.
Yeah.
And it's the smells, and it's the people within my personal body space.
Yeah.
I'm not a hugger. I can't cope with hugging. And I have to really like you to actually give you a hug.
Yeah.
Lots of people find it quite amusing and try and threaten me with a hug. So now I try and freak them out by giving them a hug back. I'm like, oh, she's hugging me. It's like baptising a cat with me. But it's that whole sensory overload thing. And it's weird because I could be wearing something that is normally really, really comfortable, but all of a sudden, if I'm not regulated, I can feel every single fibre on my body. I can feel every single hair on my body rubbing against those clothes. And that's what Christmas can feel like when you become dysregulated, or at any time, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be Christmas. But I love Christmas. I absolutely adore Christmas. And I've always loved Christmas. My dad's the Grinch, and that's why I think I'm so anti what my dad likes. That I'm just like, Christmas, I love it. It's a magical time. But I don't like all those busy bits.
Yeah. And that seems to be the one thing. And I think people are taking a step back and, you know, almost understanding of other people who don't want that crazy busyness, because there's a lot of pressure on you at Christmas to you know, do all of this.
To deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. And whether that's with family, with friends, or just society in general, we're meant to tick all these boxes.
Yeah. I went to a Christmas party on Friday. I don't know why I went to my work's Christmas party. It was something so out of my comfort zone. But that's something, giving up alcohol, that I've now that I've taken off that comfort blanket, because that's what alcohol gives us.
Yeah.
It gives us that false security. Now, if I'd gone there 3 years ago and I was drinking, I would have been the life and soul of the party. I was not the life and soul of the party. I'm sitting with work colleagues that I don't generally talk to very often.
No.
I meet them in the classroom, working in a school. I sort of meet them in the corridors, meet them when there's certain meetings. But other than that, I haven't got a clue who they are. I don't know really what they're about. And there's a few that I get on well with, but my department weren't there.
No.
Apart from one, she was sitting on the opposite table throwing things at the back of my head, which she knew I'd find infuriating. But I was sober and everybody else was drinking. And I saw the judgment in their eyes, because when they saw that I was drinking a Thatcher Zero, they went, "Are you not drinking?" I was like, "No, I don't drink." "Why don't you drink? It's Christmas."
Yeah.
And it's that kind of, well, you should drink, it's Christmas. No, I shouldn't drink because it's Christmas. I should not drink because I don't drink because of me, because it doesn't suit me anymore. I ended up leaving early, not really early, not like ridiculously, I'm flouncing out the door early. But I did kind of quietly, discreetly walk away, and nobody's questioned why I left early. I left at 10. I'd been there, got there at 6:30. That's long enough. Yeah. My social battery was depleted.
Well, yeah.
But it was a silent disco as well, so that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. It was, but I did it. I was really pleased that I did it. I went, I dressed up. I looked forward to it as well. But I possibly won't chase after another Christmas do.
There is that funny thing, and I've said this to a few people, and bearing in mind, I still drink, I'm not a big drinker as much anymore, but I still have a few drinks. But there is a weird thing that almost any other drug, like, people accept you don't take those drugs, that's fine. With alcohol, it's the one drug that people are like, what? You don't drink that?
Yeah.
And it's strange that it's, and we know, and I'm not, having a go at anyone, but we know that it's not great for your health. We know, your mental health. We know that you end up feeling rough the following day if you've had too much. But yet, you're sort of like, well, why aren't you taking it? Yeah. And it's just so built in with our culture.
Yeah. Well, people have now got used to it with me for not drinking, but it took people a long time, sort of about 18 months. And they kept on asking me the same thing. "Oh, still not drinking? Oh, God, you're boring." I'm not going to say some of the words that were used to me, but I do now refer to myself as I'm still the same UNT that I was before. I'm just a nicer version.
Yeah.
So, and I do question think before I open my mouth, whereas before there was just, I used to just blurt out whatever was there. And I was never an offensive drunk, as in if I was out drinking, I was having a good time. That's what I'm going out for. And the other thing that I didn't really struggle with, it was always tiredness, but never really hungover. But I now recognise I was very hungover. It's just that I think that I was so bloody stubborn that I wasn't going to give in to the hangover. I've felt quite smug over the past few months when I've seen people on a Sunday after various different bonfires. And like, oh God, I feel green around the gills. But I just, the thought of ever having a hangover again, that fills me with dread, the feeling of tiredness. But people have stopped asking now, and they just accept that this is me. People ask, will I ever drink again? I will never say never, because I'd be foolish to put that pressure on myself. But I don't have any intention of drinking again. And I do have alcohol in my food, as in cooking wise. People say to me, oh, but you can't have it in cooking. It's like, well, yeah, you can. That's completely different.
No. I mean, talking about the link between sort of alcohol and ADHD, and I've often had people, like you said, to self-medicate because it is an incredible one that will just quieten your mind. But equally, when we've had those nights, especially if we've done something silly or been, certainly that ADHD brain will worry about that for weeks and weeks afterwards. And then you sort of think, well, I'll just start drinking again. So do you think people with ADHD, it is different from maybe if you're neurotypical?
I think it's amplified. So I think it's massively amplified just from my own personal perspective of it. And actually listening to podcasts as well, it's that kind of, you feel that remorse the following day, you feel the regret, you feel the cringe. Now, we all feel that. Everybody feels that. I think majority of people do. But I think it's amplified, massively amplified. And then you play it over in your brain. It's not just weeks, it's years. I mean, I still, sometimes if I can't sleep at night, your brain goes into those realms of embarrassing moments. And it's just like, oh my God. And so I still think about it now. But I think that it's just accepting that, I now accept that that's in the past. But for a long time, I couldn't. And it could be ridiculous things, or I may have hurt somebody's feelings by misjudging the conversation. And it's massively amplified in the ADHD brain. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I certainly think about conversations I had 10 years ago, which probably the other person hasn't even thought about once. No. Yeah. I'm like, why didn't I say this? Or I should have said that. Or,
and you wish that you could do the replay thing and just do it all over again, or do it with a different tone in your voice. That's the other thing with ADHD, is having the tone in your voice or the impatience in your voice, and not meaning to come across so rude, but sometimes you can come across as rude. I know that I do. People think that I'm mean and that I'm scary, and then they get to know me, they're like, oh, actually, you're really nice. It's just that my tone quite often, because I'm quite bossy and I'm quite authoritative, or I seem like I'm in control, these are all coping mechanisms for ADHD. This is the way that I've coped with things. And this is because growing up in a chaotic household, I ended up becoming the parent to my younger brother, and I've ended up being the parent to my parents.
Yeah.
So I've ended up being I've put up these big defensive walls and barriers. The tone is the first thing that you hear from me, because I'm defensive before you even get to know me. So that's an ADHD thing. Yeah.
I mean, that makes complete sense. And then, you say about the tone. I mean, I have very little patience, and, things frustrate me that other people aren't so bothered about. But I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. And I'm aware I have to try and just take stock. And I think that's something that comes with some age, that you actually then start to understand yourself a little bit better. And so this has been quite a new journey of understanding ADHD. You mentioned perimenopausal, and that's a really tough time for people women with ADHD.
Yeah.
Because that combined can be quite challenging.
Yeah. So the thing is about ADHD is that it's your dopamine levels.
Yeah.
So women with ADHD, the dopamine's going to change. You're going to sort of month to month, because of obviously time of the month. I can't quote the exact science of it all because I'm not an expert in it, but this is from the studies that I've read, the podcasts that I've listened to, and from professional help, from GPs, from psychiatrists, from therapists, etc. But it's all about the estrogen and progesterone within your body. So as you're coming closer to sort of menopause, then that your hormones are going to plummet even further. So that's where it becomes really, really tricky to sort of regulate and manage yourself. So things that you normally might be able to sort of deal with, it becomes, you start really questioning your mental health. I mean, there was points last year that I was just like, whoa, I am not in a good place at all. This is really black. And then all of a sudden the clouds would lift and sunshine would come out again and I'd be all right. And that was because it was all about my cycle.
Yeah.
And it started to become worse and worse, that it was all grey and it was no sunshine. But it's all about, I'll go back a little bit. It's that dopamine seeking thing.
Yeah.
So the thing is with alcohol and ADHD is that you get an instant dopamine fix.
Yeah.
You get an instant dopamine fix, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sugar, whether it's drugs, whether it's online shopping, spending. They're all quick fixes for dopamine.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to play it forward almost and be like, right, what can I do in this moment to give me a dopamine fix that is not going to be harmful to my body, to my head, to my bank balance, to my life. And it's really, really tricky to maintain that when you've got a fluctuation of hormones to play it forward, to say to yourself, oh, okay, I'm going to just go and take a bubble bath because that used to be my fix. If I fancied a drink, I'd be like, no, I'm just going to go and have a nice soak in the bath and read a book. Yeah. And that would take away my cravings. It's really, really difficult to keep that in your head. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there for you. You know, I mean, we're coming up to Christmas. I mean, what things are you putting in place for you? Obviously, the not drinking is good. What do you do? Just make sure you've got some safe spaces or some things that you've got planned in between, because it's very easy, especially that week in between Christmas and New Year, with lack of routine and everyone out. And
the best tip the thing for me is I love pajamas. So knowing that I've got some really nice pajamas, and I always make sure that I've got nice pajamas at home ready for me. It's having the scented candles, it's having the little winds, it's going out for a walk. And you don't have to go for a walk with family. Just because we're spending Christmas together doesn't mean I have to see their faces 24/7. And it's also just being honest to everyone that's around you, and just saying, I'm struggling today. I just need some space.
Yeah.
I find that exercise really is a perfect way to get that dopamine fix in a really safe, healthy way. Drinking, yes, if you can stop at 2, then perfect. That's, to be honest with you, having just 2 drinks for a lot of people is all that they need. But drinking for me, it would be 2 drinks and the rest.
Yeah.
So that's why I won't be drinking at Christmas. Last Christmas, I was in the darkest place I could possibly have been. And on the 23rd of December, I rang the GP and I was like, this is a dark place for me. I need help. And they put me on medication that day. And the fog lifted within about a week. I was really fortunate and it started working, but I had to ask for help. And there is no shame in not being able to pull yourself out of that darkness on your own. There is no shame in that. And I was really struggling. I was really fighting to get out of a horrible place. I didn't want to be here anymore, but I didn't want to end my life. But if I ceased to exist, then that was fine. I just needed to stop the carousel that was in my head. And And the saddest thing for me was that I found no joy in Christmas. I love Christmas. And last year I knew that I was in a dark place because the lights, the Christmas lights that normally driving down Battle High Street, I mean, they're not there this year, but
No.
but I used to love driving towards the Abbey and seeing the Christmas lights. I found no joy in that last year. I found no joy in my favourite Christmas songs. I found no joy. I was going through the motions. And I vowed to myself when I asked the GP for help and for support that I would hope that by this Christmas it would be very different. And a year down the line, it is very different. I like myself. I like who I see in the mirror. I like what I'm trying to become. But it doesn't come at a price. The price was becoming me when I was drinking. And so I never, ever, ever want to give that up again, because it's taken me 44 years to get to this point where I feel happy at Christmas, putting the measures in place to preserve. It's giving yourself those boundaries at Christmas and saying it's okay to not feel okay today. It's okay that I want to I'm going to spend Christmas Day with the family, but tomorrow, Boxing Day, that's my day where I'm going to vegetate in bed and I'm not going to have a shower and I'm not even going to brush my teeth and I'm going to eat chocolate. And that's okay. All of that is okay. But what's not okay is jeopardising it for the sake of just momentary dopamine seeking. Does that make sense?
It does. That was a great list that you pulled out on what people certainly with ADHD do, whether it's, shopping or a drink or whatever it is, just to get that short-term fix.
Yeah.
Which is, what we're just craving.
Yeah.
There's so much that's gone on there. Obviously, I certainly think, now there's much more awareness about ADHD. And I think as adults, we're able to acknowledge some of that ourselves and see symptoms and start to put stuff in place. There'll be people who are probably living with children who are neurodiverse, and understanding that their Christmas might be different from other people's Christmases, but that child probably doesn't know how to do it because they're all presented the same image of what Christmas is at school, in films and things like that. And I know, like you say, there's Christmas lights everywhere and it's noisy and it's busy, but for that child, it might not be exactly what they need or want. Yeah. And that can be a really challenging time. And I think, it probably plays out with sort of arguments in the house and kids misbehaving, but it is just maybe looking and understanding what do they need as well to help them get through. Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot there for children. We're on the pathway for my daughter for ADHD and autism. I work in neurodiversity, so I work in the SEND department in a school. So we have lots of different characters that the way that they present with their diagnosis is very different. We have some that absolutely, like one of them came to Robertsbridge Bonfire and came and accessed our viewing area for people with autism and disabilities. And he absolutely loves it. It's got his ear defenders on, but absolutely loves it, marvels at it. But the tiniest little noise elsewhere sends him into overdrive. So it's how parents and how families can navigate. And I think a lot of families with neurodiversity now are better equipped because there's more tools out there. There is more strategies in place to navigate a really stressful time, a really tricky time. It is about having those quiet spaces. It's about not putting yourself into those big family situations where there is everybody around and everyone wants to hug and kiss and touch and and the OCD comes out in abundance because lots of our children don't want to be touched, they don't want to be hugged, they don't want any of that. They need to have their hands washed a lot, or and then some of them are completely different. So it is obviously down to the individual, but Christmas, it is navigating that as a family. It's an awful lot. For me, I can't stand Christmas shopping. I don't do Christmas shopping. It's all online. Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything worse. And I see people taking their children out around the shops, and I think, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I went and did it on Saturday. I went out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was back by midday. That was the one and only time that I do any Christmas shopping, because I know that's my thing, is that it's an overwhelm, and I can't cope with the busyness of it all.
No, I'm the same. I can't cope in shops with it. Just the whole thing. You know, whether it's even just finding your parking space, you know, it's too much. I'm sort of done before I've even got to a shop. But
I like the idea of going up to London and seeing the lights, but I'd like to do it without anybody around.
Yeah.
Is there an ADHD friendly time for perimenopausal women on Oxford Street? Please tell me.
It was interesting you're saying about your daughter, because a lot of it is hereditary, and I think maybe that's where actually, as more people, you know, certainly sort of in their 40s are starting to discover, actually, I seem to fit into that ADHD, that actually we can then start to see it in our kids and then provide them with better support. I feel like we're that sort of first generation that's sort of a little bit more understanding towards it, and hopefully people won't need to mask as much as that kids often have.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because that is exactly what's happening. But also we then look back to our parents.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting conversation. So having a conversation with my mum when I first told her that I was sort of on the pathway for ADHD, because the ADHD didn't come about until I gave up alcohol. And then I had to seek support and help, because my brain was like a pressure pot, and I had a lot of counselling, a lot of therapy. And one of the things that came out from it, and from sort of the first initial assessment, was do anybody else in your family display these symptoms? Like, oh yeah, my mum. My mum. And then I look at my mum and her brothers, and then I look at the family, and I'm like, yeah, you do, you don't, you do. Oh yeah, you do. And so it's really interesting, and it's how you navigate it, and some of the life choices. As I said about my mum being quite chaotic, or both my parents being quite chaotic. Mum certainly was chaotic, and she medicated in various different ways.
Yeah.
And it's how we make our split-second decisions. We don't have that rationale because we're dopamine chasing.
Yeah.
And so then you look at some of Mum's choices, I then look at some of my past choices, and you really do see a bit of a pattern. And we're now breaking that cycle, because we have the information there now to give to these new generations. There's this misconception that there's an overdiagnosis of ADHD and autism. Not at all. It's just about having the knowledge, and knowledge is power. Yeah. And it's really important that people really do understand that.
Yeah. Ria, thank you for chatting to me today.
Sorry, it was an awful lot, and my ADHD brain has probably just gone.
No, but that's the way the best conversations come out. You know, you're really raw, you're really sort of honest, and things like that. And I think there'll be people who know you. I mean, have you told this story to many people?
Not really. So there's bits and pieces. People closest to me know snippets.
Yeah.
But I don't think people really. I put stuff on social media because I just want people to understand that it's okay to share stuff like this. Some people probably go, oh, delete, I don't want to listen to her again. But that's okay. I don't mind that.
That's okay. Yeah.
I don't mind that.
But you are right. The more information that actually can be put out there, it isn't that people are being overdiagnosed. It's that we're actually just discovering it. It's interesting as you look back through generations and you sort of hear of traits and you're like, okay. But it just wasn't known about. Back then.
Not at all.
So I think it's just all coming out now. And also I think a lot of people maybe don't realise themselves because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, but I do that and I haven't got ADHD. No, that's fine. Lots of people will have these different traits, but it's when there's a continuous of a variety of them and it's affecting your life. And that's the big difference.
That's the key thing. It's when it's affecting you mentally, physically, emotionally, and it's becoming detrimental and it's having a negative effect in your life. And that's why I'll always wang on about it, about sobriety and ADHD on social media, because since I've been doing that, I've had 4 of my female friends have reached out to me and they have just reached some amazing milestones in their sobriety journey. And only last week I had a couple of guys reach out to me as well. There's lots of people that ask me for advice, and I offer it, and I'm always there as a support. They're not quite ready. And whether they are or ever take that plunge, that's entirely up to them. But I'll always be there to sort of support people and show them that actually it is okay to not drink in this weird world. And actually life can be even brighter without it. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you chatting with me. Been a pleasure.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.